So DK do not know about this, but aiming checks and misses. So now everybody's coming out of the brush. That's Cleanse already out of aiming, and there's not much that Showmaker can do with just a Z. That's first blood over to Viper's chin already.
I'll be feeling good about this one if you're Hanwha Life. Showmaker also taking a good amount of damage, obviously not in a position to trade back, just has to kind of eat. It's probably not worth the time, and neither jungler seems to think that it would be.
You're right about the Scion, though, and she was going to respect that. We do have Beryl, or not Beryl, Delight. It always, whenever I see Leona, I'm like, that's Beryl. But in this case, it's not.
I didn't check the skin, but like, especially if he'll also be playing the... It's not playing the skin.
Right, flash on in. Delight going to trade for that. Wave is pushing into Viper and Delight. They're going to be happy about that as well. Shu going to have to back away from this lane.
Yeah, wave state definitely a bit abhorrent there. But it looks like DK is just going to accept a dragon instead, and then keep Shu in that awkward matchup. Even without the Q-Max, Cho's ability to farm from a distance is okay. So he'll be able to at least get a little bit of resources. See what the wave state is though, because if Lucid doesn't make his way up at all, I don't know at what point Shu is in trouble. He's definitely dead.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see if he can outplay to maybe take a kill. I don't think he can clear the wave from a distance.
Oh, they're trying to dive here. As Lucid just going on the bottom side. You see the ult come in. That's first blood, or rather second blood going over to DK. And Shu not dying just yet. The damage is not there. Nekka not gonna be able to take it up. Has to back, and Delight goes down too as Showmaker. Romorph to the top lane. Picks up a free one.
I'm hearing Shu yells behind me. Just
Actually very happy.
And if Cho'Gath is ahead, that's generally not a good thing. When you have a team that has notorious tank hater Jimmy.
Yeah.
Taliyah, both Taliyah and Peanut will still be fine, right? Wukong does kind of shred through tanks once he gets his core of Triforce and Cleaver. But if Wukong is attacking Shu, I think DK are generally going to be pretty happy about the state of affairs. It's possible bot side play maybe being set up, and these early globals working well for DK. Now, Hanwha Life, I don't think they're going to be too bothered. They still have a ton of power in their composition when it comes to these fights, and they're not going to be getting too much, and DK are setting up an Argo to get this second Dragon Valdez, and as long as it's not Chemtech, Ocean, I guess Ocean also is a little...
It's Chemtech.
Well, I know we're getting the Chem, right? We have to.
This is Nico getting engaged on here. Beryl not in a great spot, but he is just going to walk this. Okay, aiming, not going to block for that. Seemed like a very straight up one, but he elected not to. Instead, he's always a good thing to look at. Showmaker in a bit of trouble here is going to try to flash away, and even with the Roa against 3 people, he will go down. We do have Lucid trying to join on in, but he's going to get knocked back. Delight in a rough spot as the spear gets him, but at the same time, it's 2 for 1, and they get free time with this turret. Even picking up 1 plate before it does go down, so Hanwha Life going to like this trade.
Pretty big win there for Hanwha. Nicely done. Able to both punish Showmaker and then Lucid in an attempt to save his mid laner. Ends up going down. Viper, I think, picked up an assist there as well for his troubles. And she, you know, like he's winning the lane, but winning a lane just means he's pushing in waves and he's scaling. So...
But if he doesn't and gets bounced, then probably not. Delight just dies here. Not sure exactly how that originated, but it does mean that this Rift Herald will go over to DK. Still a very close game in terms of gold, but DK are getting all the objectives.
Well, they also can turn this, I think, into Dragon Pressure, right? Because it's very early on still, so you can play for this topside turret because Delight is dead.
Zeka.
That was very unnecessary. Well, Hanwha, okay. The DK are actually playing the map well. They have double globals, right? I want to give them credit for that, even though Hanwha Life are now kind of
even. Right?
At 15 minutes, they both had 13 stacks. They both got 65 max up.
It kind of does make sense, like 2 beefy boys just attacking each other at the same time. We do have a setup here for the first Chemtech Drake. Rift Herald going mid for pressure. Hanwha Life, I mean, this is just 1 Drake. We'll see if they do.
Relmore.
This is the Relmore comes in. He's just gonna, not need it. Messes up the timing, but it's still a fight that is good for DK. Zeka in a lot of trouble. Some shots do go into the Cho'Gath though, as they finally do take out Zeka, but are they too deep is the question. Peanut's gonna flash away, and Zeus is leading the charge here. Beryl in a very awkward spot, and should eventually be taken down. But look at the right side of this fight as a bunch of damage going into Delight. Lucid just trying to survive. He gets chopped down by the Wukong. And now Showmaker going 1v3. Not the best spot for him. Should eventually be taken down. Double kill, and the Root comes in onto aiming, but he is Ezreal, and he gets away.
Hanwha Life with a big punchback. Mistime there from Shiu, doesn't actually get the dragon, and that play would have been as messy as it would have been, but then at least you get the dragon. Instead, big punish to come through, don't get soul point, and Shiu, we see how long it takes to get him down, but because he's isolated from the rest of his team, try to salvage the situation, it doesn't work.
Yeah, speaking of Beryl dying, they're going to let him die this time. There's no turret in mid, no turret in top. HLE got that after the Drake fight, so tons of map control going to them. Beryl does not respect it, and not a big surprise.
It is starting to feel like we're on the same timeline.
Yeah.
Of a close game 2 that DK lose, that he can get without putting himself in at least a little bit of danger as a blue buff fight. My LCK?
Our team's low fighting over blue buff nowadays.
Maybe a deep TP from Showmaker?
Alright, well, the blue buff's gone for a little walk because the TP is not very deep, and now we have Lucid very deep in there as the Nico is going to peel very well for this, though. HLE for going so deep into this jungle.
Here!
Now, Rice does get here. Beryl the first to go down, but that's just Beryl. But now Shiu in the front line can't do anything, just 100-0 in a stun lock position. Delight, though, is just going to die? Don't know how Lucid managed that, but now the root comes down, and Viper will collect as this Jhin 5-0-5. Nobody has dealt with him yet.
Yeah, Viper is not losing this game. At least that's his statement. Flashing forward to secure the kill. Lucid, yeah, was just waiting in the brush there, and I thought with the arrival of Showmaker, it would have been enough to try and turn the tides, but not going to be the case. And now, HLE, soul point. But if they don't deal with Viper, they are not winning. If Viper did use his flash, that is a big deal.
Yeah. Getting engaged on a Beryl once again, who does get that belt off, but he does flash away now. Aiming has to flash over the wall himself, and the engage comes in from Zeus, and the knockback here from Zeka. It's the 1-2 punch that gets them in position to take this Drake down. A couple of kills go to HLE. The CK very much falling apart now to the engage of HLE Esports.
As it is written, Valdez. HLE going to be able to deny the soul point here to DK. Aiming also having to use his flash, same for Beryl. And if HLE is the one pulling the shots and DK aren't ready, taking these fights in these narrow corridors, like yes, you have a little bit once that comes through, but feels like the moment might have passed for DK. I still think their late game is good, but this mid game is just not making it work.
Aiming's just being bullied right now. He tries to step up to the Jhin, and Viper shows him who's boss.
It's Viper's Jhin.
That was all Jhin.
This whole game feels like it's been a lot of that.
Viper does kind of decide for his team sometimes that he's just going to carry and win. It does happen relatively often. And this game really fell apart for DK through the mid-game. HLE just taking a bunch of great team fights as they normally do. Beryl gonna block with the clone. He's okay.
Actually doing damage to Zeus, guys, I swear. Yeah, we talked a lot about the choke up. We didn't really talk a lot about the fact that Zeus is also
immediately dive. Here comes Viper, the flash on in, immediate cleanse. Meanwhile, we've got Delight making plays up on the top side, and they don't even get Viper, who just walks it off and laughs at them. Now the wall's going to come down, Aiming being attacked from so many different angles, and he doesn't get to play the game. Shiu here is just walking. He is just walking.
It was the Hail Mary. I think Showmaker tried to realm more behind Viper as well, with Lucid coming on the hill, and then Showmaker's realm got interrupted and just died. They found him. They snuffed him out. And now the game certainly going to the game number 3 that we were expecting, Valdez.
Yeah, it's looking like it. They're not going to end it just now because we do have Baron in 20 seconds. So going to back away, spend that gold, go take an objective, and then end the game. But this one is certainly... Okay, well that was very troll. From here. The Cho'Gath's still level 13. Peanut goes in for one, and he is taking a bunch of damage. And this is what we were expecting the team fights to look like. You know, HLE trying to find angles and then kite back from DK, but every single time DK were just shoving their face into them and getting themselves into really rough spots, and HLE just kind of laughed at them and took the seismic shove we saw.
And the Cho'Gath, it didn't really work, but it really doesn't feel like a pick issue. I just think that they got out-team fought really, really hard.
And it's hard to say because I feel like every game we have Cho'Gath, it just falls flat on his face like this. And it feels like an execution issue, but maybe at this point it's like, is Cho'Gath too hard for our teams to consistently win with?
I don't know.
Because they always seem to struggle with it. And I agree with you. I don't think this is like all Cho'Gath's fault or anything like that. Could have gone for other picks. There were definitely a lot of options for him. Even the Ambessa that he used to love, but is playing a lot less.
Yeah, like Ambessa, Camille, right?
Yeah.
These bruiser picks that have a lot of agency in fights. It does
Even
make
in
me,
Italy.
yeah, it does
You
make
know.
me kind of wonder if this is something that DK relies a lot more on than maybe we initially thought, which is Shiyu on a carry, which, when you think about a lot of their wins, does actually make sense. Even going back to the win they found against Hanwha in the LCK Cup, which was off the back of the Mbessa. As he boosted, I mean, he's still maybe gonna give it a go, but there's uh-oh.
Yeah, they're pulling off the Baron here. Yeah, he goes in and then he goes out, down into the death chamber. In goes Zeus now. Looking for an angle here on the Shiyu, no doubt. The rest of the team is not following this. Delight is now making his way in, but Zeus doesn't take damage from these two, especially. Delight comes in, wall comes down. Now Shiyu in a lot of trouble, and knockback comes down. And again, Zeus is kind of unkillable. We do have the knockup from Shiyu on the left side, but it's not going to matter. The wallets are just too heavy, and Zeus is just tanking the turret as he DPs into mid lane.
Looked a little rough for Hanwha early on, but in the team fight, DK was absolutely no match for them. Kind of a stomp.
Will Zeus die? Yes, he will. Flash shot in. It's over.
If Viper somehow died in the ruckus, then maybe, but not gonna be the case. DK still in the first timeline as a showmaker, having a little bit of fun with it as he gets taken out.